Okay, today is our 11th and last class of meditation on philosophy of meditation, and next week we will be starting out a series of 13 meetings on philosophy, life philosophy. It's a practical philosophy which should help us become happier, more peaceful in life. And then, if you are still interested, there are 7 meetings on what happens after death, how to face our own death, how to confront the death of loved ones, and how to help loved ones who are close to death with that process. And it ends with a simulated death experience in a deep relaxation. Today I'd like to discuss the effect which meditation, or also the meditator, could have on society. We have completed in explaining this 8-fold path, the 8-step path of controlling the behavior, controlling the body, controlling the senses, controlling the energy, and then controlling the mind. What we need to understand now is the relationship between the individual and society, and that whatever happens to the individual affects society. This happens on all levels. As an individual becomes a more positive individual, his actions are more altruistic, they are less harmful to those around him. His emotions, or her emotions, are more positive, and so that we are affecting the collective emotional level. Our thoughts are more positive, and so we are affecting the collective thought pool of energy. But there's another level which we will call the causal body, or the morphogenetic field, which we could also call the collective subconscious, which states that we are all connected at a certain level of our being, and that the traits that we have affect this gene pool, or affect this trait pool, or this collective unconscious. So that every time through my meditation I come to a more peaceful state, or every time I decide to function in a more ethical way, I make peace and ethical thinking and functioning more accessible to the rest of society. I affect society not only by my actions. If I was sitting on a mountain and had no contact with society and was doing this, I would be able to affect all of humanity. Of course, to the degree that I am a part of humanity. It is a small effect, but it is an effect. And there is this concept which is called the critical mass, which Ken Kais calls the 100th monkey effect, which says that that once enough people begin to meditate or desire a positive life, desire a society based on love, unity, truth, ethical functioning. Once we get to a certain critical mass, which could be 1% or 10%, some even say the square root of 1%, then all of society will be transformed. And this actually is the basic concept behind the Celestine prophecy. This is the first insight of the Celestine prophecy, in which it is stated that this is man's hope. This is the hope of the Celestine prophecy. It's mankind's only hope, because the rate at which we are destroying the earth is so rapid that if people start changing the way they think at the rate that we are changing now, we will never make it. We will destroy the earth. So the only hope is that it is true about this critical mass, and that when enough people are meditating in a certain area or deciding to live a different kind of life in a certain area, this will affect the overall population. Now, supposedly, the Transcendental Meditation Society did such an experiment in the small area of Rhode Island, a state in America. And when they did arrive to this 1% of the population, which was possible to do because there are many universities there, and so there are many university students who were convinced to meditate, their minds were more open, they found a drastic reduction in divorce, in crime, and in cancer. In these three rates. Now, was it due to this? Was it due to something else? But they were able to see a reduction once they arrived at this 1% of the population of Rhode Island meditating, doing transcendental meditation. So the message for this class is that meditation is also, it's not only for ourselves, but it's also for our family, it's also for our work environment, it's also for us, the society in which you live, and it's also for mankind in general. It's also for nature. Because as we come into harmony, we can also affect nature itself by these positive vibrations. So that by daily removing ourselves from these complicated thought processes, which usually have to do with fear and with control and with anxiety, and sending off into the environment around us these kinds of vibrations of fear, hurt, anger, jealousy, defense mechanisms, and so that all the people around us are affected by those vibrations, or that even nature around us and the animals and the plants are affected by those vibrations, that we can gradually transform ourselves into positive focal points where greater amount of peace and a greater amount of spiritual energy and a greater amount of harmony, which means understanding, love, clarity, are being emitted from our being and transforming the environment. So when we meditate regularly, we are affecting not only ourselves but our environment. Now, I don't know if I mentioned to you the 100th monkey effect, which was an experiment which they did in the Japanese islands, in which they were giving monkeys potatoes. The monkeys liked the potatoes. They were dropping them for the monkeys. But there was sand on the potatoes. One young monkey learned that he could wash the potato in the river and then eat it without the sand. And then as the years passed, other young monkeys learned from this monkey, and later some of the parents of those younger monkeys which learned to wash their potatoes. And then one day after 5 years, it took 5 years for this gradually, for the critical mass to build up, suddenly all the monkeys started washing their potatoes, and even monkeys on a nearby island. And I don't think they had telephone in those days for the monkeys to communicate. So this is in one way of thinking that this may be explained by the critical mass concept, that we have a causal body which is a pool of knowledge and traits and abilities of the species. Another experiment was they taught people certain poems, and then they went to another part of the world and taught them the same poem, and these people in the other part of the world were able to learn it more quickly The idea being that this poem was being installed, if you like, in the causal memory, in the collective memory, so that it became easier. In the same way, we may find that in Harmonique Izuri here, that every group that comes perhaps finds it easier to understand the material that we're giving. Not because they had contact with it before, but because this material has now been processed by 5,000 people in the Athens area. Okay? So this is a concept which is hopefully true, hopefully for us. Of course, this is not the only way that we can affect society in a positive way. We affect society by our words, by our means of communication, and of course by our actions. And the hope is that once a person becomes more attuned to his inner self, that his actions will be more selfless and more in harmony with what society around him needs. I'd like to speak, however, about 7 specific results of daily meditation, which, having an effect on the individual, will also have an effect on the whole. The first problem that I'd like to talk about in society is the problem of confusion. That many people are confused because they have too many conflicting messages in their minds. You know, they're getting one message from the church, another message from television, another message from the politicians, another message from their parents, another message from their teachers. And we live in a world in which there are many conflicting concepts and beliefs. The result is that most people don't stop to think about what they really believe. And they're just this mixture, this combination of programmings which have gone into the subconscious mind from parents, from teachers, from television, from all the other media. This causes people to be less effective in their lives. This confusion undermines people's health and undermines their concentration and their clarity of mind. So that we have, whatever role a person is in, he's not able to fulfill that role, to perform that role in a very effective or positive way, whether it be a religious leader or a political leader or a teacher at school or a parent bringing up the children. There is so much confusion and false, I would say, value system, wrong value systems in these people's minds, that they are unable to really help the people that they are supposedly in a position to help. I mean, this could be true of every profession, of doctors, of lawyers, of politicians, of spiritual leaders. Those who are leading themselves have no clarity yet. A second aspect is that this also means that there's a lack of inner direction, that people lacking this inner voice are unable to know themselves what they need, what they want out of life. So meditation is a process in which we allow these programmings to subside, allow these small voices which are in the mind to begin to relax, so that we can experience what we believe, what is true for us, our true value system. Our values, not our parents' values, not the television's values, not the magazine's values, not the politicians' values, and not even the religion's values, because even there things are confusing often. I'm not saying that a meditator rejects any of this. He doesn't reject anything. He looks at it, he works on it, and says, do I believe this? Is this true for me? Does my life experiences say this is true for me? And if it is, yes, he's not a rebel. He's not against anything. But he just thinks. And in that state of meditation, allowing everything to dissolve, we come in contact with an inner voice. And this inner voice allows us to begin to live our lives according to what we really believe, what is really truthful for us. Another aspect to this is the concept of dharma. It's a concept which we discussed when we were talking about truth and using money in a proper way, using our resources and money in a proper way. And that is that finding my role in life. Many people sacrifice what they love and sacrifice their true mission in incarnating from financial insecurity or from a desire to satisfy other people's perceptions of what is important or what is accepted by society or what is respected by society. So they're living all of their lives either to obtain some kind of illusion of security or some kind of illusion of social acceptance. And they're not doing with their lives what they incarnated to do. This does not mean, however, that someone might not have incarnated to be very affluent or to do something which is very much respected by society. It's not all jobs have to be done. Someone has to be the prime minister, and someone has to be the doctor, and someone has to be the lawyer. But if I'm being that because I think that I am more worthy or more accepted or more secure, but what I really would love to do is something else, then I'm wasting my life. And I won't find happiness. I may find success, I may find acceptance, I may find wealth, but I won't find happiness. So meditation is a process which allows us to become aware of what is important for us and what we have been born to do with our lives. This is very important. And so when someone is in touch with what they love, then they do it with love. They may be paid for it because they have to live, but when anyone does anything with love, it's much more effective. It's much more beautiful. It's much more beautifying to the environment and to life. When someone is, when a doctor is a doctor because he loves to be a doctor. When a politician is a politician because he loves to be a politician, he feels that this is his life purpose, that he is there to create the perfect society. Or a doctor is there to protect people's health. And I'm not doing this for power or for money. And it becomes a ritual, it becomes a love offering to society, you see. So this is meditation can bring a person into this awareness. And then of course he becomes a much more useful and beneficial member of society. Another problem with society, with the members of society, is a lack of self-confidence. We have been programmed to doubt ourselves. This is our parents in trying to help us, teachers in trying to help us, frequently pointed out our weaknesses, pointed out our mistakes, and making a mistake was a painful experience. Making a mistake is wrong. You are not worthy if you make a mistake. So when we experienced this in life, we began to doubt our ability and to doubt our self-worth. And this fear that we're not able then prevents us from the rest of our life from manifesting our unlimited inner potential. Whether that be a potential physically to do things, or mentally to do things, or emotionally, or spiritually, whatever potential that may be. Fear is the greatest obstacle towards self-actualization. And the fear of failure, or the fear of being criticized, the fear of being ridiculous in the eyes of other people, or also the fear of economic insecurity, all of these fears cause us to live a very superficial life, doing what we already know, not trying anything new in our lives. And that limits our growth process. So that if more people were meditating, they would have more self-confidence, there would be more productivity, and they would become much more useful and productive and creative members of society. And all of society would be benefited from this. I think all people fear, and all people fear especially when they're going to do something new, which they haven't done before. The difference is that some people stop when they fear, and others continue even though they fear. This is the only real difference between people. We all fear when we're going to do something for the first time. We don't know if we're going to do it right. The thing is not to let it stop us. Say, okay, I may not do it right, but I'm going to do it, and gradually, doing it wrong 100 times, I'll get it right. I mean, this is how we grow, by making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. So self-confidence is an important aspect for the human being and for society. Another major problem of society today is the lack of morals. This is created basically by fear, and fear is created by ignorance. We're going to discuss this when we get into the philosophy course. That our ignorance of our true spiritual nature, of what we really are, causes us to identify exclusively with our bodies and our minds. And because our bodies and our minds are vulnerable, they are vulnerable to pain and vulnerable to death, vulnerable to being hurt physically or emotionally, then I get into a whole set of defense mechanisms. So my ignorance creates a false attachment, my false attachment creates fear, and my fear causes me to attach myself to various persons and situations and to say, I have to protect my money. I have to protect these things. These are mine. And so I get into these defensive mechanisms. When I get into those, then I can lie, then I can cheat, then I can ignore other people because I am here to protect myself. I have to protect myself and these 5 persons who are my 5 family members. And what happens to the rest of the society doesn't matter to me, because I am living in these defense mechanisms and I am separating myself from the whole. Now this is like some of the cells in my body saying, well, we're going to start accumulating oxygen, or we're going to start accumulating hormones, and we're not going to let any other cells around us have oxygen or hormones. You can see what's going to happen to the body. So the same thing has happened to society. Some cells have accumulated, other cells don't have. The cells that don't have are very unhappy, perhaps even dying. 40,000 children a day die because there's a lack. That's a day. Not a year or a month, a day, 40,000. And those who have too much have become so soft that they also are losing their spiritual process, their spiritual evolution, or they become so attached to what they have, you see. So the other thing is that I am able to tell lies. I am able to cheat. Now, we discussed that in order to be able to meditate, we have to be able to live by the yamas and the niyamas of non-violence, not stealing, not telling lies, not being jealous, sexual moderation. Okay? So when a person starts meditating and they just told a lie half an hour ago, or cheated someone on a business deal half an hour ago, they can't meditate. The conscience starts bothering them, you see. Meditation develops the conscience. And we're feeling it much more, it awakens the conscience. So it's not like, I'm afraid of the consequences. I just can't live with myself. So it's one thing not to be immoral because I'm afraid of God's punishment, or I'm afraid of being caught and punished by society. And it's another thing to do it because I am identifying with the other person, and I realize I would not like the other person to do this to me. And so then we're functioning from what is called dharma. And it's a total other thing when we come into the state of love, that is, since I love the other person, how can I cheat them? And when through meditation I also love the person I'm doing a business transaction with, and I don't see him simply as someone I can make money from, but see him as a fellow human being. And I, because I'm identifying him, would not like to sell him something I would not like to buy, or at a price I would not like to buy it at, or to give him a service that I would not be willing to pay for. So when people meditate, they gradually, it's a slow process, begin to hear more and more clearly their conscience. And it becomes they become less and less able to ignore their conscience. So when one person is functioning in his family life and professional life and social life in this way, he becomes an energy which gives others the sense of faith and security to do the same. And this inspiration, just as the opposite, the defense mechanisms, begin to spread. Just as my being defensive and cheating you is going to cause you to think in your mind, well, they're all going to cheat me, so I might as well cheat them. And I start functioning with this kind of thought processes. It's exactly what has happened in Greece between the citizen and the government. The government is sure that the citizen is going to cheat on his taxes. And so the government makes these ridiculous rules, and the honest people lose because these rules about supposedly objective amount that they should be making have no reality to what most people are actually making. And so there's no trust either between the citizen or the government. You see? And so as people become truthful, then other people can trust in them, and all of society can function in a much better way. The lack of trust is one of the basic obstacles to a harmoniously functioning society. And the lack of unity. When one group of society, when each person doesn't trust the rest of society, then this is like, as I said, the cells in my body not cooperating. Another aspect, another problem of society is the lack of love, the lack of unity. The opposite of love is not hate, as we might think. The opposite of love is fear. I lose my love when I fear. I hate when I fear. I can't hate someone I don't fear. So, as meditation is a process in which I begin to come into contact with higher levels of my being, I begin to fear less. And if I have any kind of spiritual experiences which allow me to experience a sense of separateness from the body or the personality, then that becomes a frame of reference in which I begin to feel safe and secure. So through meditation, we can begin feeling safer and more secure. And the safer I feel, the more secure I feel, and let's add to that, the more I accept and love myself, the more I can love others. I lose my love for others when I am doubtful of my own self-worth, and when I feel insecure. Because basically, we stop loving when we get into a self-protecting mode, when we fear. And what do we fear from the other? That they may in some way intimidate our security, that they may intimidate our self-worth, that they may intimidate our freedom, they may limit us in some way, control us in some way, or that they may become obstacles to the fulfillment of our desires, of our needs, whatever they may be. If someone doesn't in any way intimidate any of those needs, I can love him. Why not? If he starts intimidating those things, and I start to fear that, I'm losing my security, I'm losing my self-worth, I'm losing my freedom, then I close my heart. Now, closing my heart is half of it. Then I may even become aggressive or violent or not loving at all towards the other person. So meditators, those who meditate, gradually with the years, having come into contact with this inner sense of security, this inner sense of self-worth, this inner sense of freedom, will be more able to love those people around them and more able to have understanding for other people's negativity. It becomes much easier to handle negativity. Now, this is a slow process, and I personally believe that it has to be accompanied with a self-knowledge process. And this is why in Harmonic Izui, we ask people first to do the emotional harmony, and then the effective communication, and then the meditation. Because meditation doesn't automatically give you self-knowledge. Perhaps in the long run, after 30, 40, 50 years, it would. But it is possible for people to meditate, and it is possible to study deep philosophy and to be able to teach wonderfully philosophy to all around them, but still be controlled by emotional mechanisms. So it's one thing to have knowledge or wisdom, another thing to have spiritual experiences, and it's another thing for that knowledge and the energy of those spiritual experiences to be able to affect my emotional mechanisms. Often they remain untouched. So this is why we have this multi-pronged approach in Harmonic Izui. Both the emotions and the meditation and the prayer and service to society and the exercises, we believe that all of these are necessary, an integral approach towards growth. So we will have a more loving society if more people would meditate. Another problem of society is that there is too much nervous energy, too much anxiety, especially in the cities. Many people are running and they don't know why they are running. And even if they're not running, their mind is running. Because anxiety actually has nothing to do with how much you do, but how much you have anxiety about what you do. Some people can do nothing and have anxiety all day long. Other people can do hundreds of things and feel very relaxed about them. So anxiety is a state of mind. And what is it? It's a doubt that what we are doing, we will be able to finish it in time, or that the results will be the results that we want. Now these results could not be for ourselves, it could be for our children. Anxiety about how our children are doing, anxiety about their health, about their school, about various things, you see. So anxiety is usually two aspects. One is about time, if I will finish this in time. And secondly, if the results that I am seeking from any effort in life will be the ones that I want. And of course that comes from attachment. The idea that is, if these results are not the ones that I want, and if I don't get this finished in time, I have programmed into my mind that the world will come to an end. You know, some things may be serious. Maybe something may have to do with about living and dying, about, you know, the life of our loved ones. But even that, although it seems like the end of life, if we lose a loved one, after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, we see that life continues. So it's a whole idea that we don't have the ability to handle what will happen. This is anxiety. I don't have the ability to handle the possibility of not getting this done on time, of not getting there on time, of things not turning out the way I want them. And the problem is this: the more anxiety you have, the more you accumulate. Because if you have anxiety, very small things affect you. Whereas the more relaxed you are, the less stimuli create anxiety. It's an accumulative effect. So the more tense I am, the more small words, small situations add to that. It's like, you know, it's almost like if you have this, imagine this screen here, and this screen is made up of threads in both directions. And so if there's a very tight weave, nothing can pass through it. So imagine each thread as a certain belief that I must have this, I must have that, my reality must be totally controlled, exactly what I want it to be for me to be happy. So virtually nothing can pass through that without getting caught into the mesh. Now as I pull out one thread after the other, and say, well, I can be okay if that doesn't happen, and I can also be okay if that doesn't happen, and I can also be okay if that happens, and the weave becomes looser, and some things can pass through them. And as we remove most of the threads, and we just have, a few basic threads here, most experiences can pass through this weave of the mind without creating tension. So meditation and self-knowledge work are the process of pulling threads out of this tightly weaved mind, which says things must be exactly the way I want them in order for me to be okay, so that less and less things that happen, that people say in situations, get caught, and more things are able to go through. This does not create apathy. Don't think that it creates a state of not trying to create what we want. It's just that I have transformed my addictions into preferences. And I say, I like to have this kind of life. I want people to behave this way. I want to have these things. But it's not an addiction. It's not an attachment. It's a preference. I will work towards creating it. I will work towards manifesting it. But if it doesn't happen, I'll be okay. And I'll keep working on it. But I get free from the anxiety about the situation. Now the other problem is that we're not only confronted by our own anxiety, but the anxiety of people around us. So here we have the hot potato effect. That is, so we go somewhere and the bus driver shouts at us, and we get upset, and so we shout at somebody else, and then they take out their negativity on someone else. Or the husband comes home full of anxiety, he gives it on to the wife gives it to the children give it to the dog bites the husband, and we have this vicious circle of negativity. Right? So what we need to do is not to take the potato and throw it somewhere else. So through daily meditation and self-knowledge, we can begin to have understanding and be able to not hold in other people's negativity, but transform it into understanding, to realize that this negativity that I am receiving from this person at this moment is not directed to me. This is a very beautiful concept from Laura Huxley's book, You Are Not the Target. Laura Huxley was the wife of Aldous Huxley. And she wrote it's a very small book of various techniques you can use to let go of negativity. And one of those is to remember, and it's the name of the book, that you are not the target. The other person just needs to get rid of this energy. And he's not meditating, and he's not doing self-knowledge, and he's not going out to the gym to release this energy. And so the only thing he can do is to release it on the closest and the safest place, which is wife, children, husband, parents. This is the safest place to let out your negativity. Because you let it out to someone else, they may punch you in the face. You might lose your job, whatever it may be. So, understanding that this energy is not for me. This person doesn't hate me. This person is just trying to get rid of this negativity. We cannot take it personally. We can take it not personally. And we can take it with understanding, and we don't have to do anything with it. It's not ours. It has nothing to do with us. We don't have to take it in at all. We can just hear whatever that person is saying about us. We can just hear, look at how unhappy I am. That's all we're going to hear. He may be saying, you did this and you did that and you're worthless and it's your fault. But the only thing we're going to hear is, look at how unhappy I am. And when we can hear that, then we're not going to take it personally. We're not going to get upset. And we can be helpful to that person. And this can be a result of daily meditation and self-knowledge. Another aspect of society which creates problems, is that we have no self-control. We say, well, I'm going to go on a diet, and we can't. We can say, I'm not going to get angry, and we can't. I say, I'm not going to shout, and we can't. I'm not going to have fear, and we can't. We have very little control over our bodies and our minds. It's indicative of the era in which you live. Meditation helps to develop willpower. By meditating daily, we are seeking to exercise our will on the mind and allow the mind for that period of time without fighting with the mind in a relaxed and loving way, allowing the mind to be focused on what we want. This is an exercise in self-control, which gradually can be employed in other aspects of our lives, so that we are able to direct our energies in ways which are most fruitful for ourselves. Many people talk about freedom and feeling suppressed. I want to be free to do whatever I want. But all those things that I want to do, are they the most beneficial things that I can do for myself? Yeah, you're free to smoke, you're free to eat, you're free to eat anything you want, but is that what you really need? Am I free not to smoke? Am I free not to eat things which undermine my health? Am I free to be happy without things that I feel that I must have? You see, freedom is internal. And actually, discipline is not the opposite of freedom, but it's a prerequisite for freedom. We have confused outer discipline with real discipline. Outer discipline is not discipline, it's fear. When we do things because we're afraid of the repercussions, that's not discipline. If I am doing something because I'm afraid that if I don't do it, someone is going to fire me, or someone is going to be angry with me, or someone is going to stop loving me, or God is going to stop loving me, or I'm going to lose something, that's not discipline. That is fear. So real discipline is discipline based on the inner understanding of why I want to do something. I want to exercise daily because it helps me experience life in a much more alive and vital way. I have a more alive body. I want to meditate daily because I have clarity all through the day. I'm more peaceful, I'm happier. I don't have to meditate. God's not going to love me more because I meditate. So we need to develop inner discipline, which, if you understand in Greek, the word is pitharchia, which we could consider to mean pitheme yatinarchi, which means I am convinced about the reason why I'm doing something. I have experienced that exercise, that pure diet, meditation, or whatever it may be, makes me enjoy life. It's not something that I have to do. It's something that I want to do. In this way, self-control ceases to be an inner conflict, ceases to be a fight with myself. And it becomes a very natural part of life, such as taking a shower, eating, anything else. So, we can see how many benefits meditation has for the individual, and how, as the individual improves, this will improve society as a whole. Artists who meditate will have much more inspiration. When I say art, I mean not just drawing, dancing, theater, writers, musicians. All creative persons will have much more inspiration. Meditation and creativity are very much supplementing each other. We do workshops on creativity because we consider that through meditation I come in contact with the creative source, and by creating I allow my creative source to express itself. These are like the two pedals of a bike. pressing on one brings the other up. Meditating increases creativity, creativity enhances the meditation. All people that need to solve problems, businessmen, scientists, technicians, meditation enhances very much the ability of problem solving. It gives insight into how we can solve problems. Parents, teachers, religious leaders, political leaders will be opened up to the real purpose of their role, and that is to serve those who they are responsible for. The parent is there to serve and to aid the child. The politician is there to serve society. The same with the religious leader and the teacher. So these people will be functioning in quite a different way, meditating daily. And all persons, all workers in every field of life will be more effective, more intelligent. We have already discussed the fact that meditation increases intelligence, increases the ability to learn. So whatever work anyone is doing, by meditating daily, they will do that work more intelligently, more effectively, and also more harmoniously. So my belief is that meditation actually should be taught in all schools, that all businesses should have a break, and some do. I know in America and some European countries, a meditation break. All people that are seeking to solve problems should do group meditations and then continue. All couples that want to solve their emotional problems should meditate together and then speak about their problems. That all of humanity should be meditating. Because meditation is the process in which I come into contact with the center of my being and bring out from the center of my being whatever is most positive about myself. So it's only natural, it's only intelligent that all of society should meditate and to get this benefit of this inner power. Okay, so we will do a meditation now, and then we will discuss any questions that you have. Okay? So if you want to take your positions. Have you started the cassettes? Okay, take a comfortable sitting position with the eyes closed. and focus on your breathing. Breathe more slowly and more deeply. Now when you feel ready, you can begin the alternate breathing with your right arm, using your right thumb. The index finger is free, it's not used. And using the third and fourth finger. Inhaling through one nostril, exhaling through the other. Counting the rhythm of your breath. Inhaling into the solar plexus, holding in the heart center, letting the energy flow through the neck on the exhalation, and holding without air in the forehead. Focus on your breathing and moving the energy from one center to the other. Continue the alternate breathing a little longer. can allow the breath to continue by itself. Straighten your body. Let it be relaxed. Allow the abdomen to be relaxed. Feel the solar plexus. Allow it to relax. Feel your shoulders. Allow the shoulders to relax. Your neck, allow the neck to be straight and relaxed. And allow the muscles of the scalp, of the head to relax. And the face, allowing the jaw to be relaxed. And the mouth. Feel your cheeks. Allow the cheeks to relax. Feel the eyes. Allow them to relax. And feel your forehead. Allow the forehead to relax. Now, take a few moments to communicate with the Divine, with God, expressing whatever is important today. Communicate with the Divine mentally. Now, you can focus in the center of your forehead. Become aware of the spiritual light, the light energy, the vibration of light, which fills the forehead and fills all of the brain, fills the head. And allow the light to flow into the neck and to relax that area. To flow into the shoulders, into the arms, and relax that area. Allow the light to center in the center of your chest and to fill all of the chest area, the sensation or the vibration of light. Allow the light to flow into the solar plexus, relaxing that area. Into the abdomen, relaxing the abdomen. And into the thighs and legs and feet. Experience a light vibration permeating all your body, from the soles of the feet to the top of the head. And if any parts of the body are resisting, allow them to open and receive the light vibration now. Now, allow the light to expand and to encircle the body. So that there is light within and without. And continue your meditation, focusing on your chosen object of concentration, lovingly and patiently, bringing your mind back and back, again and again, to that chosen object of concentration. gradually complete the meditation in your own way, at your own rate. Okay, do you have any questions about meditation or about what we said today?
The alternative breathing, I'm finding it much easier now.
Good.
But after I've been doing it for a short time, I have a terrible tendency to yawn. Is that still part of the unblocking?
Yes, yawning is an indication that stress is being released and that the energy flow in the body is being reestablished. You should feel better afterwards.
Oh, yes.
Do you have any other questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask you.
Yes.
You mentioned before incarnation. Since we don't have a memory of our previous lives, how do we know there is such a thing?
Well, I don't think we have spoken much about reincarnation now. We will be speaking about that possibility in the next seminar, the philosophy seminar. But a very simple answer is, do you remember things that you did when you were 2 years old? I mean, if you can't remember 2 years old, how are you going to remember before that?
So if we can't remember, how can we know what the purpose of being here is?
We don't need to know our previous incarnations to know what the purpose of this incarnation is. It is encoded in our being, just as it is encoded in a kernel of corn, or an almond, or a cat, or a dog. It's encoded in all beings what role they have come to play. The only problem is that man has free will. All other beings which don't have free will cannot but live their dharma.
They can't?
They must live their dharma. They have no choice.
So
A corn cannot decide to become a watermelon. A watermelon seed cannot decide to become an almond tree. A cat cannot decide to become like a dog. Human, however, has the free will to follow its nature or not follow its nature. And so having been given free will, this creates the problem. We have the possibility of living according to what we really have incarnated to do, or not. You see.
So reincarnation is, let's say, a prerogative of human beings or everything that's got an energy?
Human beings don't reincarnate. Souls reincarnate.
So
So a soul, as an energy, as a spiritual entity, we can imagine this passed through a series of manifesting itself physically. Its first manifestation was the universe without beings, and then the universe with cells, and then the universe with plants, and the universe with animals, and then the universe with humans. So the human is just the latest model, the latest vehicle of expression for the soul. It's the soul which reincarnates, and the human being is just the latest version. You know, like every year we have new cars, you know, or new computers,
So it might develop into something else.
right?
So it might develop into something else
Yeah.
in years to come.
Let's see what happens. We have no idea. It could be an improvement, that's for sure. But my sense is that evolution now is not so much physical as it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. That we, of course, if you go by the Celestine prophecy, our evolution would be to have bodies of light, which could move between this plane, and especially if you go into the 10th insight, which could move between this plane and other planes. So that the further evolvement of our body, would the molecules of our body would not be so material as they would be energy. And we could sort of dematerialize ourselves and materialize ourselves. Of course, these are qualities which have been attributed to high spiritual beings throughout the years anyway. It's not something new.
The messages of that is in the Lord's Prayer and in the Great
Invocation.
because that's right. Basically, well, from what I see, that we'll move up to a higher level anyway, where we'll try.
Yes, this is the purpose, moving to a higher level, because we can participate in that, or let it happen by itself, which would be a very slow process, or we can participate in it, help it out. Amina, did you have a question?
When we start to focus on the object of meditation,
When we start,
yeah, from the moment we start focusing on the object of meditation, how long shall we stay in this state? 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
you can stay up to 20 minutes. I would suggest between 15 and 20 minutes.
Yeah, not less than 15 minutes.
Not less than 10, I would say. Because the introduction that we're doing is a form of meditation, passing the light throughout the body. It depends on how long that takes you.
Yeah,
I would say that from the moment you start moving the light around the body till the end of the meditation should be at about 20 minutes.
I also have, shall we always do the light thing? Whenever we do meditation, it should always be before, or as gradually we should stop it all?
What do you mean do the light thing? As a preamble, as a preparatory thing?
Before going in.
Before focusing on the object of meditation?
I mean, this is the light when you, is
It's-
it part of meditation?
It's part of the meditation that I am teaching you, but it's not a part of every meditation. And if you are free to do any meditation you like, so if you prefer not to do the light thing, you can do that. And if you find another kind of meditation which is more suitable, you're free to do that. So it's just one form of meditation.
So it is, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's one form of meditation.
I find some conflict in the idea of finding my role in life. I'd say that I was reasonably happy with what I do, and I think I do it quite well, and I'm giving something to other people. I'm teaching, I'm giving something to other people by doing it. But I wonder sometimes whether what I'm doing is just, it's a preference. I mean, I've come to accept that, not to what was the other word to say? Not to be an enemy there, that I should be doing something else.
An obsession, yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean, but I think the main indicator is the sense of satisfaction and the ability to feel creative and joyful when you do what you do. if those are there, then I think you can safely say that this is your purpose. If you begin to feel bored with it, start to feel that this is not giving you the same satisfaction it has throughout the years, then it may be time to change. See? So boredom, or a lack of joy in what we do, is one indication. It's a possible indication. It might be something else. If we're not happy with what we're doing, there are two possibilities. One is that it is time to do something else. And the other is that we have beliefs which are preventing us from enjoying what we're doing, and we need to change those beliefs. But since you are enjoying what you're doing, it's no problem.
I mean, I suppose even though this might be your role, is it possible that at times you still feel, I mean, from time to time, think, oh, wow, I can't be bothered doing this, I don't want to do this. But that passes.
Yeah, if it is time for you to change, situations and feelings will come up will make it less and less pleasant.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, let's say, oh, I want a holiday now from this or something. Is that...
That's pretty natural. But the more it is really our dharma, the less holidays we need. I mean, I rarely take a day off.
Yeah.
The more it is really what someone, you don't see many people that are really doing what they want, taking days off. But it's natural for someone who is doing something just for money or something like that. So the more I need vacations, the more I can sense that I'm not really being fulfilled by what I'm doing. Some vacations are natural.
So yes, theoretically, it shouldn't tire you at all what you're doing.
It shouldn't tire you, yeah. Unless it is what you're doing, but you're doing with an anxiety. Or you have other needs which are conflicting. There's all kinds of possibilities, but in general, one indication is that, I remember when I was doing this work in the beginning, I really needed breaks, at least on the weekends. But now I have left virtually no weekend until after the 15th of August. I will work every weekend from now until the end of the 15th of August, and every day I will work. And so as time has passed, I have needed less and less and less and less. Now, if at some point I don't exclude the possibility that I'll feel that I don't want to do this, and move on to something else. You have to be open to it. Yes.
One of the friends, a friend of mine staying at my house, she was going through some problems, personal problems, and I've let her stay at home, and she's going through a depressive stage, which I find has affected me, although I intended originally to help her, escape from this. The atmosphere in the house has become so oppressive that I find that instead of me helping her overcome her problems, her depression has started to affect me. I can't meditate at home because of the environment, the atmosphere. And I don't know how to deal with it. And when I try to speak to her, she withdraws and takes it as, something personally offensive to her. So I don't know how to deal with this.
Well, it's quite a big subject, and it's difficult to tell you exactly what to do. I'll just make some general suggestions. One thing is you have to get free from feeling responsible for her reality. You cannot create someone else's reality. Secondly, I would suggest that you recognize that behind this depressed mind there is a spiritual being. And address yourself to that spiritual being, meaning that you have every right to see what is going on in her mind as not truth. She is depressed because she is in non-truth. She is in some state of ignorance. You're very right to accept that she has every possibility of being happy. And that, she can choose to be happy if she wants to be happy. And this is her choice. She's choosing to be depressed. Unless, of course, there's a chemical problem. There's a organic problem which you should look into. Because sometimes depression can be the result of, an imbalance in some of the metals in the body. That's why they give lithium sometimes. Usually depression is the result of the fact that one doesn't have what one wants, or one is not what one would like to be, and one feels helpless to change it. So there are two beliefs which have to change here. One belief is that I cannot be happy with what I am, or I cannot be happy with what I have. And the second belief is I cannot change it. So she either has to learn to become happy with what she is or with what she has, and see how blessed she is in comparison to the rest of the planet. 80% of the planet doesn't have enough food, running water and these kinds of things. And secondly, she needs to be helped to believe that she can change some things that she doesn't like, either about herself or about life. So it's also, you are not obliged not to laugh. You have every right to laugh, to put a comedy on television, to laugh at it, and to enjoy yourself, and to live your life, and not to get sucked into this, you have to pity me kind of thing. Pitying her doesn't help her in any way. You can be loving, but clear. So in this situation you need to be loving and clear. I love you, I want to help you, but you are creating your own depression. I cannot change this for you. I want to be happy. If you want to be happy with me, fine. How long is she going to stay?
I don't know. Beginning to wonder too.
Well, you always have the right.
Sometimes I think it's a vicious circle. You try to help, and that person becomes very dependent on you. And you try to explain that you're there to help, but there is a crutch,
Yeah, it's nice to help, but if the other person is helping themselves, if you don't see that she's making any attempt, for example, she could listen to these cassettes of emotional harmony. Give her things to do. If she doesn't do them, you can't help her. You can only help someone that wants to help themselves. If she really feels badly and she wants to get out of it, let her start listening to the emotional harmony cassettes. Let her start reading a book about these kinds of things. And let her start making an effort.
Well, I told her these things, and her reply is, do I bother you the way I am?
This is emotional blackmail. Yes, you bother me the way you are. Tell her the truth. I don't feel happy. It's the truth, right? Tell her the truth. Ask her, doesn't it bother you the way you are? Does she admit that she's in depression?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, obviously, if it's going to bother her, it's going to bother you, it's going to bother everybody, isn't it? Ask her how she would feel if you were like that. Maybe you're not being truthful enough with her.
I'm not being...
Truthful enough with her, perhaps.
I try to be as truthful as I can.
Yeah.
I see that she withdraws when I start speaking to her about the problem. She withdraws into herself. She will go to another room. She will just get up and leave. So she's not prepared to listen.
Well, there are some times when you just, after you've given someone enough opportunities, you just have to let them live the consequence of their... We had a young lady who stayed with us for a month. After I found her 3 jobs, which she refused to take, after I gave her ample opportunities to try to do things for herself, I simply asked her to leave. She obviously was not interested in doing anything for herself. And she called me the other day, and she's still living on the street. It's her choice. There's nothing. I mean, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. Anything else?
Well, I have a hard time with the same concept of trying to, what you were saying in today's talk was more about how your own feelings, ethics, etc. affect society. I feel it going the other way, and I just don't know how you fight that battle. If you're around somebody who's really negative, it's hard not to be negative or at least more defensive.
I think meditation is a very important help. Another help is retreating, going away for a day each week or a day each month or 2 days each month, and really getting in touch with yourself and what you believe, without television, without radio, even perhaps without reading. And this is what I mean, if you look at Christ went 40 days in the desert, Muhammad was in his cave, Buddha was under his tree. Most saints, people who really came into contact with the power within themselves, had to disengage themselves from society. This is why we have monasteries. So one way is simply to remove yourself from that for a day or two each month, so that you can maintain that sense. But if you meditate daily, you can also maintain it without retreating too much, you see. So these two. Also contact with a group of people, such as this group, in which that energy is supported and those beliefs are supported. So I think, and also reading or listening to cassettes of this nature also can support that. Yes?
A friend of mine wants to join us from next week, but I don't know if that's possible at this stage.
Wants to join what? This
class?
This class?
Yes, English.
This friend has done anything in regards to this kind of work?
She has done it in the past, yes.
She has. Well, anyway, we're making an exception for this English group. Ordinarily, you would have had to done the emotional harmony anyway. So we're making an exception here. So she can also come again. It would be good if she listened to what we have said until now. If she would borrow those cassettes and listen to them, that would be useful. She read Greek?
Not very well.
Well, she could read the meditation book. I mean, you should all know that this class can be supplemented by the book on meditation in English out there. And that the next seminar is supplemented by the book on philosophy. It's called Universal Philosophy. It's also in the office.
And is it Tuesday?
Yeah, so as of next week, we're at Tuesdays at 11.
And what about the other lesson that was on Tuesday?
We've stopped those.
It stopped, and
Yes.
the group stopped.
Yes. Most of them will be continuing with us in meditation, philosophy. I have 2 cassettes for you, which you asked for. Okay. Okay. Have a nice week. We'll see you next Tuesday.